Okay, we're going to now look at some volumes and surface area and lateral areas, okay? So first, let's talk about the volume, okay? If I had this figure and I needed volume, I cannot just do volume on this diagram because I don't have a nice neat formula. I have to make it into two sections. So I'm going to divide it right there. So now that if I'm looking for volume, because what is volume, guys? Volume equals total area times the height, okay? From total area, what are we going to use? Well, we're going to say the area of our rectangle plus the area of our triangle, and then we're going to multiply that by our height, okay? Because what is total area? Well, that's the area of the rectangle plus the area of the triangle. How do we do that? Well, how do I find the area of a rectangle? The area of a rectangle is simply length times width. The area of a triangle, base times height, divided by 2. Then we're going to multiply by our height. Mrs. Turner, do I need to write all these things down? Yes, you do. Because when you get to Miss Argueta's class in geometry, she is going to ask you to prove things. And she's going to ask you, how do you know that? What postulate tells you that? What theorem tells you that? What fact tells you that? What formula tells you that? And this is building your ability to break down a figure and look at it so that you understand it better. Now, let's look at this. What is our length and our width of the rectangle? Here it is. Okay, our length is what? How wide is it? It is only 10 wide. And going up, it is 20. The base of our triangle is what? Please don't say 30 because 30 is not right. Do not say 10 because 10 is not right. What is? 20. The whole length is 30. The top part here is 10, so 30 minus the 10 because the 10 goes only to the dotted line. From the dotted line out is the difference, so it's 20. So our base is 20, the height is 20, and we're going to divide it by 2. Now, our book, let me turn back here to the right page to where they actually drew this. It tells us, interesting enough, on this particular one, that all of these dimensions are in feet. But it tells us that the height is 2 yards. Well, how many feet are in a yard? There are 3. Since there are 3 feet in 1 yard, and we have 2 yards as our height, we're going to say 3 feet times 2. Okay, that's how we come up with our height. Okay, don't just assume that all of your measurements are in the same unit because they're not always, okay? So now we're going to keep looking here at our volume, and it says to us 10 times 20 is what? 10 times 20 is 200. Plus 20 times 20 is 400. 400 divided by 2 is 200. And outside we have 3 times 2 is 6. Now, this 200 plus 200 is what unit? Because it's our total area, it is feet squared. What is the 6? It is simply just feet, okay? Now we say 200 plus 200, we get 400. So the volume is 400 times 400 square feet times 6 feet. So our volume is 2,400 cubic feet. I hope that made sense to you. If you still have trouble with it, drop a comment for me in the comments below the video or send me a text. Several of you have been doing that and I appreciate it. It helps me know what to go over. Now let's look at surface area. Okay, surface area means we want to cover all the different sides. I have drawn up here a triangular or a right prism. Okay, there are 2 different kinds of prisms we've talked about. We've talked about the right triangular prism, which is what I have up here, which simply means both ends are triangles. Okay, the other type we talk about is what are you going to do if you have a rectangular prism? Okay, that means you have a rectangle, but it's a solid rectangular prism, which means that you have a top and a bottom, a front and a back, and a side that are all the same. In a triangular prism or a right prism, our 2 ends are triangles. Our 2 sides are what? Rectangles. And then the bottom is a rectangle. So the first thing is how many sides and what kind of sides are they? Okay, so first, for our surface area, we're gonna say the ends. The ends are what shape? They are triangles. How many triangles do we have? 2, 1 on each end, right? So we're gonna say for surface area, we're gonna say 2. How do I find the area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2. So we're gonna say 2 times base times height divided by 2. Why did I say 2 times that? Because there's 2 triangles, okay? Next, we're gonna do the sides. The sides are like this. What shape is the side of this? It's a rectangle, okay? But remember, this side and this side are both rectangles because it's long, okay? So again, we're gonna say 2 times length times width, okay? We have one more edge that we need to measure, and that is the bottom. Does the bottom match the other sides? No. Does it have one on the top? That's the same. No, because the top of this is pointed. So the bottom of it is simply length times width. Now, we're gonna add these 3 things together and we're gonna have our surface area. So let's talk about them again. Okay, so we got 2 times base times height divided by 2. Why? Because we have 2 triangles, 1 on each end. Then we have 2 times length times width. Why? Because we have 2 sides. Okay, 1 on this side and 1 on this side that give us our triangle. Then we have 1 length times width because that represents the bottom. Okay, so now let's solve it. If we have surface area equals 2. Okay, now where's my base and my height of my triangle? Look at the base. It says from this corner to the dotted line is 5, and from this dotted line to that corner is 5. What's the base? Please don't say 5. Because the base is the whole thing. Okay, so the base is 10. Okay, so our base is 10. Our height is what? Looking at the dotted line, you can see that it is 12. And of course, the bottom is a 2. Okay, so then we have 2 times length times width, and this is the 2 sides. Okay, so the length is 22. The width is 13. What about the length and the width of the bottom? The length is pretty easy, it's 22. What is the width? The width is the same as the width of our triangle. So it's gonna be 10, okay? So now all we've done is we have filled in all of our different numbers. Now we're gonna go back and we're actually going to solve them, okay? So we have 10 times 12 is 120, divide by 2 is 60, times 2 is 120. Okay, that's our first. Okay, then we have 22 times 13, which is going to be 572. Then we're going to say 22 times 10, which is going to be 220. And our last step is to add all of these numbers together. So when we add all of these numbers, we get 912. What's my unit? Well, we said that this was in feet. But it's not just feet, because what did I find? I found surface area. Area is my key, which means that it will be square. Okay, I hope that makes a little more sense. I know that we need to go over the rectangular one yet, but we'll practice that probably tomorrow or the next day. All right, let's look very quickly at Lesson 107, if you have any questions about it. I know we've already gone over it. I just want to review it with a little bit. Couple of things. We're going to use the same pattern that we've been using. Okay, we've been saying the fraction times the of equals the is. We're going to call it something different. Okay, up to this point, you've said fraction times the of equals the is. We've also said the decimal times the of equals the is. Now we're changing the name because we're not looking for the decimal. We're talking about a decimal equivalent, which is simply at what? It's a percent, okay? So our decimal equivalent is going to be called our rate, okay? So with that in mind, our new pattern is rate times the of equals the is, okay? So let's look at one real quickly. Let's see if I can erase a little of this, give us a little more room. Okay. All right. Now, what if we say, what percent of 40 is 120? Well, I don't know this what number, do I? I don't know this rate, okay? What I do know is, let me read the question again. What percent of 40, so I have the of 40 is, I don't know the rate times 40 equals 120. What am I going to do? Well, I need to get rid of that 40 because I need to get r by itself, right? Rule number 1. Rule number 2 of algebra is whatever you do on the left, you have to do on the right. So I'm just going to draw a line here, and I'm going to divide both sides by 40. When I divide this by 40, these two 40s cancel. So all I have left, this is a multiplication sign, and I'm dividing, so it's also canceled. All I have is rate equals 120 divided by 40. Well, drop those zeros, so now you have 12 over 4, which is 3, okay? So your rate was 3, all right? Now, because all you had to do was simplify it. That's pretty much how we're going to do this, is we're just going to keep using this formula, the rate times the of equals the is, to solve your rate problems. Make sure you pay close attention. I do want to look at number 10 with you, okay? I want to look at number 10, so real quickly, turn to that because we're going to run out of time on our video. Number 10. You are looking for the volume. Is that the right one? I'm sorry, I just turned the wrong one. Okay. You're going to look for the volume, but there's a little trick to this, and I even reminded you on your homework because this is on your homework sheet. What is the volume in cubic centimeters of the right solid whose base is shown on the left and whose height is 3 meters? Okay. So you have this really weird figure, okay? So you have a little section here, you have a cutout, you have another section there across the top. This one's going to come down and it's going to form a square. And along the bottom, you have a square, but then suddenly you'll notice that it has this little drop down and then it comes in like that. Now mine's not anywhere near as nice as the one in your book, okay? Here's what you have to remember. When you find the total area, okay, you're going to go back and you're going to pretend. I'm going to use my blue chalk to help you see this. You're going to pretend that line is there, okay? You're also going to pretend that this line is there, okay? So we're pretending that this is here. We're pretending that is there, okay? Now I can say, what's the area of the whole thing, okay? Once I know the area of the whole thing, I'm then going to subtract out the area of the semicircle, and you're going to subtract out the area of the triangle. So once you have the area of the whole thing, find the area of that little semicircle, the area of that triangle, those have to be subtracted out. So you can simply say area of the base, okay, times the, we're looking for volume, times the height, right? All right, that's what we're going to do. What is the area of the base? Well, in this case, the area of the base is our rectangle. Then we're going to subtract out the area of the semicircle minus the area of the triangle. Once we've done that, we're going to multiply by the height. You see how these formulas help us think it through before we get into the math? So we're going to find the area of the whole thing. That's going to be the area of our base. Okay, so that's going to be the area of our rectangle. Okay, that's the whole thing. Then we're going to subtract the area of the semicircle, and we're going to subtract the area of the triangle. So take the whole thing, subtract the semicircle, take what's left, subtract your triangle, multiply it by the height. That'll give you your answer for number 10. Okay, we will actually work it out tomorrow. I hope you do well, but you do your best on your homework tonight. All right, have a great day.